Hi everyone, my name is Eliza and I'm a survivor advocate for those affected by human trafficking. I'm also a survivor of human trafficking, and it is an honor and a privilege to get the opportunity to speak to you today about survivor aftercare and a couple other topics. Thank you so much to Victims Refuse Silence for asking me to participate in this today. It's an honor and a privilege. I love y'all. Y'all are my muse. You are inspiring me every day. Thank you so much. I am such a believer in what Victims Refuse Silence has in their future. There is nothing more powerful than brave survivors stepping up and having the opportunity to work one-on-one with other survivors and say, yeah, me too. You are not alone, and I believe you. Those are some of the most powerful moments that I've had the opportunity to experience on both sides. So I am a firm believer in survivor leaders. It is so important. Now, that being said, there is a space for everyone in the survivor movement, and hopefully, after watching this video, you will have a better idea of how to get involved. So first and foremost, everybody knows donations are so important, and that goes to everything. That goes to keeping the lights on, that goes to promotion material, that goes to internet exposure, that goes to everything. And although we have a lot of volunteers that are really hands-on, we need money as well, right? Because we cannot best serve survivors without being able to meet survivors where they're at. And part of meeting survivors where they're at is being places where survivors are going to be. And a lot of times that's the internet or other festivals or things like that. How could we possibly fund being there, pay for the tent at the festival, to pass out promotional material, to pass out the hotline information and things like that without a little bit of funding? So if you have a little extra cash laying around, definitely shoot it off to Victims Refuse Silence. I actually personally am donating today. It's something I believe so much in, and I really, really want to see these projects. Secretly, I kind of know a little bit more than the average bear about what Victims Refuse Silence has coming up, and that's all I'm going to say. I don't want to spill too much tea, but I know what's coming up. We need some cash, but we're going to use it for something good. So how about that? I'll leave it there, okay? So, or maybe I should just say it. Oh, Teresa, I hope you don't kill me for this video. There's a healing center on the way. I call it a safe house healing center, and we need a lot of cash to make that happen, honestly. Victims Refuse Silence needs a lot of cash to make that happen. Those things just don't happen lightly, and so please just think about donating some cash. Anyway, if you do not have the opportunity in this wild year to donate a couple bucks to Victims Refuse Silence, I'm going to give you a couple other ways to get involved. I always tell folks, when you first think about getting involved in the survivor space, I think a lot of people are so nervous and scared to get involved because they have no idea what they're going to encounter and they have no idea what to do or say. The good news is you don't have to work directly with survivors to help out in the movement. I always let folks know, write down your gifts. Write down what comes to you naturally. Write down what you do for work, and then use those gifts and your skill set to help out the survivor space. So what that looks like is, if you're a yoga teacher, think about getting trained to work with survivors and then hold a yoga class for survivors. If you are a carpenter, think about helping out build a survivor safe house, or think about helping a survivor with their roof or something around their own house. If you do taxes, think about helping an organization with their taxes, or a survivor as well. If you do tech, a lot of organizations don't have a tech team. So we need help in all those ways. I always let people know, like, hey, if you make soap, send a box of soap. Send a box of handmade soap for survivors to a local safe house. So I regularly on my Twitter post a list of over 2,000 local organizations, both in the United States and internationally. And what you can do on that list is just click on it, zoom in, and really see what organizations are going on in your area. If there aren't organizations in your area, I'd recommend maybe you start one. Think about getting involved in that way. Also, I always let people know that there is a directory on the Polaris Project website. Polaris Project runs our national human trafficking hotline, and there is always a reference directory on their website. And a lot of folks ask me, like, how do I know which organizations are the real deal, which organizations I should get involved with? Well, you're going to have to research. And you could just, with a simple Google search, you can look up the organizations, see what they're doing, not only on their website, but see what other websites are saying about them. See what awards they've won and exactly what they've done. Are they operating with transparency, or is there something that seems a little off? I always say if you get a funny feeling about an organization, or if you don't think that they align with your values, you could just keep it pushing. There's a lot of other ways to get involved. Also, if you don't want to leave the comfort of your own homes, and if you don't feel like you particularly have a special skill, you can always post on social media. That's one of my favorite things to do. I post the human trafficking hotline. I post the RAINN, National Sexual Assault and Domestic Violence hotlines, all the time. I do that in the hopes that maybe there will be a survivor out there that's struggling, and that maybe they'll get an opportunity to see that post. So those are some ways that you can get involved. Now, I let people know to become a survivor advocate, I do think that folks should be trained, and in some states it's a little bit more of a requirement, and for some organizations it's more of a requirement. Under all circumstances, anyone that's working directly with survivors should have a background check. So those are some things. Survivors need rides. We need it all. That's what I tell people. We need it all. We need people that help us with fundraisers. We need toothbrushes. We need deodorant. We need it all. So if you cannot donate financially, please think about donating. Get together a bag of clothes. It doesn't matter what season. Winter's going to be coming up right here in the Midwest. We're going to need coats. We're going to need sweaters. We need all of it. I've had a lot of folks donate handmade masks. And that's been really amazing this year, is a lot of people say, hey, I don't know what to do, so I'm going to sew up some masks and donate some masks. I'm like, oh, that's freaking great. Thank you so much. So whatever skill you have, think about doing it for the survivor space. I always let people know the best thing you can do for survivors is get yourself educated before you talk about human trafficking in a public way. That is one thing. Since human trafficking is on the tip of everyone's tongues right now, which as a survivor and as an advocate, I freaking love. It's awesome. But there's a lot of misinformation spreading around out there. So if you are going to be posting about human trafficking on social media, or sexual assault for that matter, please just make sure that your information is accurate. I always direct people to the Polaris Project website, because that is our national statistic and data grabbing service for the United States. So that's always they have the best data set for what we're talking about. And also, I think that one area that we need a lot of help with is in aftercare, is with helping survivors that may go unnoticed. So I don't see a lot of organizations stepping up for our men, boys, or LGBTQ+. That is one area that we are struggling from within a movement, is to have those folks really looked after. We have a lot of organizations that support women and girls, and I love that, and we need more of that. Please, if that's something that's on your heart, please think about starting an organization or getting involved. We need a lot of that, because just statistics and data just show that a large portion of the survivors are women and girls. So we need all the help that we can get, but we do have needs in other ways. So if you're a man and if you don't necessarily feel comfortable working with young girls or women that are survivors, think about starting something for men. There are a lot of men out there that are survivors that need a helping hand. So being an advocate is probably the greatest honor and the greatest privilege I've ever had in my life. Getting an opportunity to work directly with survivors is absolutely the most amazing thing that's ever happened to me. A lot of folks ask me what aftercare looks like to me. Aftercare looks like start walking with that survivor from the point of contact until the survivor decides to end services. Unfortunately, a lot of times we come in contact with survivors through the emergency room after a sexual assault, domestic violence, or human trafficking call. Or we'll get a call from the police department or the jail, or every now and then you have a self-referral through the hotline or another channel. So we walk with those survivors from the point of contact until they end services. And a lot of times that will start off by letting the survivor know that they are not alone, letting them know their rights as a survivor, and then you help them rebuild their life so that they're not walking this journey alone. And sometimes that looks like signing them up to get a GED. Sometimes that's helping them buy their first house. Sometimes that's helping them go on a date. It could be a little bit of everything, but as a survivor, when you have an opportunity to break free from your abusers, you feel like you have the weight of the world on your shoulders. And I let survivors know that even though I cannot change the weight of the world, I can help make it a little less heavy. And so that is what we work on doing. And so for that, we need organizations like Victims Refuse Silence to really step up and work directly with survivors. There is just nothing more incredible and amazing than seeing other survivors serving and working with other survivors. So I hope that answers some of your questions. If you have more questions, please feel free to check out my Twitter account. I post about this issue relentlessly, like my life depends on it, because someone's life does. So if you want to follow me on my Twitter account, my Twitter is at Eliza Bleu, ELIZABLEU. Again, that's at Eliza Bleu, ELIZABLEU. And if Twitter isn't your cup of tea, I'm sure I will be meeting you right here back with Victims Refuse Silence, because I'm in it with the long haul for them. I let them know right away. I said, hey, I love what you're doing. I want to help you in any way possible. So we are just beginning. I keep calling 2020 the year of the survivor, and I truly feel like this is the year that human trafficking is really getting the stage that it deserves. This is a big problem, as everyone knows. This year, human trafficking will gross more net profits than the drug trade. So we're looking at $150 billion as reported by Forbes. So we are in the fight for our life. Our most vulnerable are at risk for trafficking if they haven't been already as a result of what we faced this year. So we need all hands on deck. So that means start making your soap. That means get ready. Oh, I wanted to bring this up too. Sorry, you can tell I clearly didn't prepare any type of speech. I'm just rambling, but this is my favorite topic, so I could probably ramble about it forever. But I got a great email the other day, and I think this is a perfect example of my ideas on how folks can help out in aftercare. A massage therapist contacted me, emailed me, and said, hey, so I'm a massage therapist, and myself and my friends would like to, that are also massage therapists, would like to donate our massages to survivors of human trafficking. So right away, I'm like, okay, that's a lot, pause, because a lot of survivors are not in a space, especially right after they've broken free or had the opportunity to break free, that they want to be touched, or even like someone my age would still have a difficult time. So that might be a little bit much. So I said, maybe eventually during group therapy sessions, you could do chair massages with clothes on in a room with other people. I said, but start by finding your local organization, researching them, and ask them if you can donate massages to the advocates, the people that work in the safe house, and the volunteers there. I think that a lot of these folks that work in the survivor space are working hours that are crushing them, to be honest. This year, folks that work in the survivor space are working hours that are crushing them just because of the massive influx that we've seen this year. So they could really use that sort of little relaxation by getting a massage. So think about starting there. I said also you could donate massages for a fundraising raffle or something like that. So that's one way that you could take a skill and use it to help the organization. You could use it to donate, you could donate hey, I'm doing this and this and this for a raffle for a fundraising event, because a lot of organizations need that cash flow coming in, and something like a massage might go for a lot of money that would inadvertently help quite a few survivors when that comes back. And speaking of raffles, I'm pretty sure today Victims Refuse Silence is doing a ton of raffles, like a ton of raffles. So I would definitely encourage you to donate, get involved. And actually, I'm going to do 2 videos today. So this is my first video. My next video will be about social media. Dun, dun, dun. So thank you so much for letting me speak. I love everybody involved with Victims Refuse Silence, especially Teresa. Teresa, I love you, girl.